Commander Jake Morrison looked out the big window of his ship. The stars were bright, but what caught his eye were the strange crystal ships floating next to his fleet. They looked like they were made of glass and light, moving slowly through space like jellyfish in water. 3 years had passed since humans first met the Zalari. Jake remembered that day clearly. His team had been exploring a new star system when they found these peaceful aliens. The Zalari were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They looked like walking plants with long, thin arms and faces that glowed softly in the dark. Captain Lisa Bennett walked up to Jake. She held a tablet in her hands, and her face looked worried. "Commander, we got new reports from our spies. The Corvan Empire is moving ships towards Zalari space." Jake took the tablet and read the information. The Corvans were big, scary aliens who loved to fight. They had 4 arms each and skin like armor. They had taken over many worlds by force, making other aliens work for them like slaves. "How many ships do they have?" Jake asked. "Our scouts say about 300 warships, maybe more," Lisa replied. "They have been building up their fleet for months." Jake felt anger growing in his chest. The Zalari were good people. They had shared their amazing technology with humans. They could grow medicine from special plants and make buildings that fixed themselves. But they had no weapons and no army. They believed fighting was wrong. The door to the bridge opened, and Velthar walked in. The Zalari ambassador was taller than most humans, with skin that changed colors when he was happy or sad. Right now his skin was dark blue, which meant he was very scared. "Commander Morrison," Velthar said in his soft voice, "I bring bad news from my homeworld. Our sensors have detected Corvan scout ships near our outer planets. They are watching us, learning about our defenses." Jake put his hand on Velthar's shoulder. "What do your leaders want to do?" "The Council has voted to leave our worlds," Velthar said sadly. "We will pack our things and find new homes far away. We cannot fight the Corvans. We do not know how." Lisa shook her head. "But where will you go?" "The Corvans control most of this part of the galaxy. They will find you no matter where you hide." Velthar's skin turned even darker. "We know this, but we have no choice. We are farmers and scientists, not warriors." Jake looked at his alien friend. The Zalari had helped humans so much. They had taught them how to grow food in space and how to make their ships stronger. More than that, they had become real friends. Human children learned Zalari songs in school. Zalari artists made beautiful gardens on Earth. "You do have a choice," Jake said firmly. "You have us." Velthar tilted his head, confused. "I do not understand." Jake walked to his command chair and pressed a button. The communications system came online. "Get me Admiral Kate Sullivan on Earth. Priority 1 message." Within minutes, the face of Admiral Sullivan appeared on the main screen. She was a strong woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been fighting in space for 20 years. "Commander Morrison, what's the situation?" she asked. "Admiral, the Corvans are planning to attack the Zalari. I'm requesting permission to activate the Mutual Defense Treaty." Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a moment. Jake knew she was thinking about what this meant. The treaty said that if anyone attacked the Zalari, humans would defend them. But the Corvans had a much bigger fleet than humans did. "Are you sure about this, Commander?" "The Corvans have 3 times as many ships as we do." Jake looked at Velthar, then back at the screen. "Yes, Admiral. The Zalari are our allies. We gave them our word." Admiral Sullivan nodded slowly. "Then we keep our word. You have permission to activate the treaty. I'll start moving the home fleet to support you." Jake turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to Corvan High Command. Tell them the Zalari Collective is under human protection. Any attack on them will be considered an act of war against humanity." The communications officer, a young man named Danny Roberts, looked nervous. "Sir, are you sure about this?" "The Corvans are really dangerous. Send the message, Danny." Within an hour, the message was sent across the galaxy. On the Corvan homeworld, General Thrakmer read it and laughed. He was a huge alien with 4 arms and teeth like knives. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Corvan Empire. Humans. he said to his officers. They are babies playing with toys. They have been in space for only 200 years. We will crush them like insects. But Jake Morrison was not worried about what the Corvans thought. He was busy preparing for war. His ships moved into position around Zalari space. Human engineers worked day and night to install new weapons that use Zalari biotechnology. Valther watched the human ships take their positions. His skin was now bright yellow, which meant he was grateful but also afraid. Commander Morrison, he said, why do you do this for us? Your people could be hurt. Your ships could be destroyed. Jake smiled at his alien friend. Because that's what friends do, Valther. We protect each other. That night, Jake stood alone on the observation deck of his ship. He looked at the Zalari crystal ships floating nearby. Tomorrow, the Corvans would probably attack. The battle would be hard and many good people might die, but Jake was not afraid. Humans had learned something important since they came to the stars. They had learned that the galaxy was full of bullies who picked on the weak. Someone had to stand up to them. The next morning, Jake's communications officer received a message from the Corvan fleet. General Thrakmer's ugly face appeared on the screen. Human fool, the Corvan said. You have made a big mistake. We are coming with our full fleet. Run away now, or we will destroy you and your plant friends. Jake sat in his command chair and looked calmly at the screen. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Force. The Zalari are under our protection. Turn around and go home or face the consequences. Thrakmer's four arms waved angrily. You dare threaten us? We have conquered 100 worlds. Your tiny fleet is nothing. Then come and try, Jake said simply. But remember, you were warned. The Corvan general cut the communication. Jake turned to his crew. All ships, battle stations, this is what we train for. Let's show the galaxy. What happens when someone threatens our friends? The war was about to begin. General Thrakmer stood in his war room aboard the massive ship called Bone Crusher. The ship was so big that it could destroy entire cities with one blast. Around him, his officers studied maps of human space on glowing screens. Show me everything we know about these humans, Thrakmer ordered. Captain Krasiter, his second-in-command, pulled up files on the main display. They are a young species, General. They have been in space for only 200 years. Their biggest ships are tiny compared to ours. Thrakmer laughed, showing his sharp teeth. And they think they can fight us? The mighty Corvan Empire? We have been conquering worlds since before their planet had spaceflight. The Corvans were proud of their strength. They were nearly 10 feet tall with thick, gray skin that could stop bullets. Each Corvan had 4 powerful arms and could lift a small car over their head. They had built their empire by being stronger and meaner than everyone else. How many ships do the humans have? Thrakmer asked. Our spies count about 50 warships. Total, Krasiter replied. We have over 300 in our main fleet alone. Perfect, Thrakmer said. We will crush them quickly. Then we will take the plant people and make them work for us. Their technology will make our empire even stronger. Far away on Earth, President Ryan Carter was meeting with his top military leaders. The room was deep underground, safe from enemy attacks. Maps of space covered the walls, showing where human and alien ships were located. Give me the bad news. First, President Carter said to his advisors. General Paul Hughes, a tall man with gray hair, stood up. Sir, the Corvans have us outnumbered 6-1. Their ships are bigger and have more weapons than ours. In a straight fight, we would lose. Admiral Nicole Davis, the head of the Space Navy, nodded. But we do have some advantages. Our ships are faster and our pilots are better trained. We also have new technology from the Zalari. Dr. Alex Turner, a scientist who studied alien life, spoke up. Mr. President, we can't let the Corvans win. The Zalari have knowledge that could help all of humanity. They can grow medicine that cures diseases we've never been able to treat. They can create materials that are stronger than anything we have. More importantly, General Hughes added, if we abandon the Zalari, no other alien species will ever trust us again. We need allies in this galaxy, not enemies. President Carter looked at the star maps. What do our field commanders think? Commander. Morrison believes we can win, Admiral Davis said. He's been studying Corvan tactics for months. He has a plan. Back in space, Commander Jake Morrison was meeting with his ship captains. They gathered in the conference room of his flagship, Guardian's Edge. The room was crowded with men and women who had dedicated their lives to protecting Earth and its allies. The Corvans think this will be easy, Jake told them. They see our small fleet and think we'll run away scared. They're wrong. Captain Lisa Bennett leaned forward. What's the plan, Commander? We're going to use their arrogance against them, Jake explained. The Corvans always attack the same way. They charge straight at their enemies with all their ships at once. They think bigger is always better. But that's not how humans fight, added Major Sam Rodriguez, the Marine commander. We're smarter. We use tactics. Jake nodded. Exactly. We'll make them think they're winning at first. Then we'll show them what human warfare really looks like. The meeting was interrupted when Danny Roberts, the communications officer, rushed in. Commander, we're getting a message from the Corvan fleet. They're demanding we surrender? Jake smiled coldly. Put it on screen. General Thrakemer's ugly face appeared on the display. Behind him, Jake could see other Corvan officers preparing for battle. Human Commander, Thrakemer said in his deep voice. This is your last chance. Leave this system now, and we will let you live. Stay, and we will destroy every one of your ships. General Thrakemer, Jake replied calmly. I told you before. The Zilari are under human protection. We will not abandon our friends. Then you will die with them, Thrakemer snarled. We are bringing our full war fleet. 120 ships. You have 1 day to run away. The communication ended. Jake looked around the room at his officers. Some of them looked scared, but all of them looked determined. 120 ships, Captain Bennett said quietly. That's a lot, even for them. It doesn't matter, Jake said firmly. We have something they don't have. We have a reason to fight that's bigger than conquest or glory. We're fighting for our friends? On the Corvan flagship, General Thrakemer was giving orders to his fleet commanders. We will attack in 3 waves. The first wave will destroy their outer defenses. The second wave will crush their main fleet. The third wave will capture the plant people's worlds. What if the humans have surprises? Asked Captain Krasiter. Thrakemer laughed again. What surprises? They are children playing with toy soldiers. We are the greatest military force in the galaxy. We have never lost a major battle. But Thrakemer was wrong about the humans. While he was making his plans, human engineers were working around the clock. They were installing new weapons on their ships, weapons that used Zilari biotechnology. These weapons could adapt and change during battle. Learning from each shot fired, Dr. Turner was working with Zilari scientists to create new defenses. The Zilari had taught humans how to grow living armor that could heal itself. They had also shared secrets about energy shields that could bend and twist to avoid enemy fire. Commander Morrison received a message from Earth. President Carter appeared on his private screen. Commander, the whole world is watching. The whole galaxy is watching. Show them what humanity stands for. We will, sir, Jake replied. The Corvans are about to learn that humans don't back down from bullies. The next day, long-range sensors detected the Corvan fleet approaching. Jake stood on his bridge, watching the enemy ships appear on his screens. There were so many of them that they looked like a cloud of metal and death moving through space. All ships, this is Commander Morrison, Jake announced over the fleet communication system. The enemy is here. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. We are not just defending the Zilari. We are defending the idea that good people should help each other. Velthor, the Zilari ambassador, was also on the bridge. His skin was pale with fear, but he stood straight and proud. Commander Morrison, Velthor said, my people will never forget what you are doing for us. Let's make sure you get the chance to remember, Jake replied. The Corvan fleet was getting closer. Soon the battle would begin. Jake looked at his small fleet of human ships, then at the approaching enemy armada. The odds were terrible. But Jake was not worried. The Corvans were about to learn that humans were not like other species they had conquered. Humans were different. When humans made a promise to protect their friends, they kept that promise no matter what. The war was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Corvan fleet arrived at the border of Zalari space like a storm of metal and weapons. 120 warships moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. General Thrakmar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small human fleet ahead. "Look at them," he said to his officers. 37 tiny ships trying to stop our mighty armada. This will be over quickly. Captain Krasater studied the human formation on his screen. "General, something looks strange. Their ships are spread out in a defensive circle around the plant people's homeworld. Why are they not running away?" "Because they are fools," Thrakmar replied. "They think they can hide behind their friends. We will show them what real power looks like." Commander Jake Morrison watched the approaching Corvan fleet from his command chair. His ship, Guardian's Edge, was positioned at the center of the human formation. Around him, his officers worked quietly at their stations. "They're taking the bait," Captain Lisa Bennett reported from her ship, Swift Strike. "The Corvans are moving exactly as we predicted," Jake smiled. The Corvans always fought the same way. They would charge straight at their enemies with all their ships, trying to overwhelm them with superior numbers. But today, that would be their mistake. "All ships begin Phase 1, Jake ordered. "Make it look good." The human ships started moving, in what looked like panic. Some vessels appeared to have engine problems, drifting slowly toward the Zalari homeworld. Others seemed to be trying to escape but were moving too slowly. "Ha!" Thrakmar laughed. "They are already falling apart. Their ships are breaking down. Order the fleet to attack. Destroy them all." The Corvan ships opened fire with their massive weapons. Bright energy beams and explosive missiles flew through space toward the human fleet. Several human ships were hit and began to drift, apparently damaged and helpless. "Look at them run," Krasater said. "Their ships are no match for our firepower," but something was wrong. The human ships that had been damaged were still moving in formation. They were drifting toward specific positions, not randomly floating in space. Major Sam Rodriguez was watching the battle from his assault ship, Iron Fist. He was waiting for the right moment to spring the trap. "Come on," he whispered. "Just a little closer." The Corvan fleet moved forward, confident in their easy victory. They had destroyed many enemies this way before. Their big ships would get close to the enemy and blast them to pieces with overwhelming firepower. "All ships, close in for the kill," Thrakmar ordered. "Do not let any humans escape." That was exactly what Jake Morrison had been waiting for. The Corvan ships were now deep inside the trap zone, surrounded by what they thought were defeated human vessels. "Now," Jake said quietly into his communicator. Suddenly, the damaged human ships came alive. Their engines roared to full power, and their weapon systems activated. But that was not the biggest surprise. All around the Corvan fleet, space began to shimmer and change. Hidden weapons platforms appeared, their cloaking devices shutting down. These platforms had been invisible, using technology that the Zalari had helped humans develop. "What is this?" Thrakmar shouted. "Where did these weapons come from?" But the surprises were not over. From behind asteroids and space debris, more human ships appeared. These were not the small vessels the Corvans had been fighting. These were hunters. Fast attack ships designed to kill much larger enemies. Captain Bennett's voice came over the communication system. "All ships, engage the enemy. Show them what happens when they threaten our friends." The real battle began. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, working together to surround and destroy the larger Corvan vessels. Their weapons were different from anything the Corvans had seen before. The energy beams could change direction in mid-flight, chasing targets around corners and through obstacles. Major Rodriguez led his fighter squadron against the Corvan flagship. His small ships were tiny compared to the massive Corvan vessels, but they were fast and smart. They flew between the enemy weapons, too quick to be hit. Target their weapon systems, Rodriguez ordered his pilots. Cut them down piece by piece. The human fighters swarmed over the Corvan ships like angry bees. They knew exactly where to hit to cause the most damage. While the Corvans had been building bigger and stronger ships, the humans had been studying their enemies and learning their weaknesses. Thrakmer watched in horror as his proud fleet was torn apart. "This is impossible," he said. "They are just humans. They should not be able to fight like this." "General," Cressida reported, "we have lost 40 ships already. Our weapons cannot hit their small fighters, they are too fast." "Then use the big guns," Thrakmer roared. "Destroy everything." The Corvan ships began firing their largest weapons, trying to hit the human fighters. But the humans were ready for this too. They scattered in all directions, leading the Corvan fire away from their own ships and toward the hidden weapons platforms. The platforms opened fire with devastating effect. Their weapons were powered by Zalari biotechnology, energy beams that could think and adapt. When a Corvan ship tried to block the beam with armor, the beam changed to go around it. When they tried to jam the targeting systems, the beam learned to ignore the jamming. Jake Morrison watched the battle from his command chair. The trap was working perfectly. The Corvans were trapped in the middle of the human formation, being attacked from all sides by enemies they could not see or catch. "This is for the Zalari," Jake said quietly, "and for every peaceful species you have conquered." The battle continued for 6 hours. The Corvans fought with desperate courage, but they were outmatched. Their big ships were designed to fight other big ships in straight battles. They were not ready for the human way of fighting, which used speed, intelligence, and teamwork. One by one, the Corvan ships were destroyed or damaged so badly they could not fight. Their perfect formation fell apart as ships tried to escape or find cover, but there was nowhere to run. The humans had surrounded them completely. Captain Cressider's ship was hit by 3 human fighters at once. His engines exploded and his weapons stopped working. "General," he called to Thrakmer, "we must retreat. We cannot win this battle." Thrakmer looked at his tactical display. More than half his fleet was gone. The remaining ships were damaged and scattered. The humans had defeated the mighty Corvan war machine. "All ships retreat," he ordered, his voice full of shame and anger. "Fall back to our territory." The surviving Corvan ships limped away from the battlefield, leaving behind the wreckage of their once proud fleet. The humans let them go, watching as the enemy disappeared into the darkness of space. Jake Morrison stood up from his command chair. Around him, his officers were cheering and celebrating. They had won a victory that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. "Damage report," Jake ordered. "Minimal casualties, sir," Lisa Bennett reported. "We lost 3 fighters and 2 escort ships." "The Corvans lost over 70 ships," Jake nodded. The plan had worked better than he had hoped. The Corvans would think twice before attacking anyone under human protection again. Valther appeared on the communication screen, his skin bright gold with gratitude. "Commander Morrison, my people owe you a debt we can never repay. You have saved our entire civilization." "We did what friends do," Jake replied. "We protected each other." News of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. The Terran Defense Force had defeated the feared Corvan Empire in their first major battle. Species that had been conquered by the Corvans began to whisper about hope and freedom, but Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Corvans would not give up easily. They would be back, and next time they would be ready for human tricks. The war was far from over. News of the battle traveled fast across the galaxy. On every inhabited world, aliens watched recordings of the fight with amazement. The mighty Corvan Empire, feared by everyone, had been defeated by a species that most had never heard of. Admiral Kate Sullivan arrived at the battlefield 3 days later with more human ships. Her flagship, Righteous Fury, was the biggest ship humans had ever built. She looked at the floating wreckage of Corvan vessels scattered through space. "Well done, Commander Morrison," she said over the communication system. "You have sent a message that the whole galaxy will understand." Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, still tired from the battle. Thank you, Admiral, but I think this is just the beginning. The Corvans will not give up after one defeat. He was right. On the Corvan homeworld, General Thrakmer knelt before his supreme leader. Supreme Overlord Vexthal was even bigger and meaner than Thrakmer, with scars covering his forearms from 100 battles. You lost 70 ships to a handful of humans? Vexthal roared. How is this possible? My lord, they fight differently than anyone we have faced before, Thrakmer explained. They use tricks and traps. They work together like a hive mind. Their technology adapts during battle. Vexthal slammed his massive fist on his throne. I do not care how they fight. They are insects that need to be crushed. Gather every ship in the Empire. Call our allies. I want the humans destroyed completely. My lord, that would be over 400 ships, Thrakmer said carefully. Then we will use 400 ships, Vexthal replied. And if that is not enough, we will use 800. The Corvan Empire has never been defeated, and we will not start now. But the galaxy was changing in ways the Corvans did not understand. On the world of Altair Prime, the leaders of the Altarian Republic held an emergency meeting. The Altarians were a peaceful alliance of 12 different alien species who believed in democracy and freedom. Ambassador Zephyrin, a tall alien with blue skin and large eyes, spoke to the council. The humans have done something remarkable. They defeated the Corvans not through conquest, but to protect their friends. This is the kind of ally we need. But are they strong enough? Asked Councillor Nixtal, a small creature with 4 legs and tentacles for arms. The Corvans will bring their entire fleet next time. That is exactly why we should help them, Zephyrin replied. If the humans fall, the Corvans will be unstoppable. But if we work together, we can defeat the Empire once and for all. The Council voted to offer an alliance to humanity. For the first time in years, there was hope that the Corvan Empire could be stopped on Earth. President Ryan Carter read the intelligence reports in his underground office. The news was both good and bad. Good because other species wanted to be friends with humanity. Bad because the Corvans were planning the biggest military attack in galactic history. How many ships are they gathering? He asked Admiral Paul Hughes. Our spies count over 300 already, with more arriving every day, the general replied. They are also calling in favors from allied species. Pirates, mercenaries, anyone who will fight for money. Dr. Alex Turner entered the room carrying a datapad. Mr. President, I have some good news. The Zilari have offered to share more of their technology with us. They want to help in their own defense. What kind of technology? President Carter asked. Advanced biotechnology that can make our ships stronger and faster. Weapons that can think and learn. Medical technology that can heal wounded soldiers in minutes instead of weeks. President Carter nodded. Give them whatever they need, and send word to this Altarian Republic. We can use all the friends we can get. Back in space, Commander Morrison was meeting with Velther and other Zilari leaders. The aliens had come to his ship in their crystal vessels, their skin glowing with determination. Commander Morrison, Velther said, my people have been thinking. We do not like violence, but we understand that sometimes it is necessary to protect innocent lives. What are you saying? Jake asked. We want to fight alongside you, another Zilari named Kilthara said. We have been developing defensive technologies in secret. Weapons that do not kill, but disable enemy ships. Shields that can protect entire fleets. Jake was surprised. I thought your people were against all forms of warfare. We are against aggression and conquest, Velther explained. But defending ourselves and our friends is different. The Corvans will destroy us if we do nothing. At least this way, we can help save others. Captain Lisa Bennett entered the meeting room with urgent news. Commander, we are receiving messages from all over the galaxy. Species that have been conquered by the Corvans are asking if we can help them. Some are offering to fight with us. Jake looked at the reports. Dozens of different alien species were reaching out to humanity. Some offered ships and weapons. Others offered information about Corvan weaknesses. All of them wanted the same thing, freedom from the Corvan Empire. This is bigger than just protecting the Zelari, Jake realized. We are starting a rebellion against the biggest empire in the galaxy. The next few weeks were busy for everyone. Human engineers worked with Zelari scientists to create new weapons and defenses. The biotechnology was amazing: armor that could heal itself, weapons that could adapt to any target, and computers that could think like living beings. Major Sam Rodriguez was training with the new equipment. His marine armor now had Zelari technology built into it. If he was wounded, the armor would inject medicine and help his body heal faster. His weapons could change from energy blasters to plasma cannons depending on what he was fighting. "This is incredible," he told his squad. "It is like having a doctor, an engineer, and a weapons expert all built into our gear." The Altarian Republic sent Ambassador Zephyrin to meet with human leaders. He arrived at the space station Haven Point with 40 warships from his alliance. The ships were different from both human and Corvan vessels, sleek and graceful, built for speed and precision. "President Carter," Zephyrin said during their video conference, "the Altarian Republic officially offers alliance with humanity. Together we can stop the Corvan Empire from conquering more innocent worlds." "We accept your offer," President Carter replied. "But I want to be clear about something. We are not doing this for conquest or glory. We are doing this because it is right." Zephyrin smiled, something that looked strange on his alien face. "That is exactly why we want to be your allies." Meanwhile, the Corvans were gathering their forces. Ships arrived from across their empire, along with vessels from allied species. The fleet was enormous, the largest military force ever assembled in the galaxy. General Thrakmar stood before Supreme Overlord Vexthal with his final report. "My lord, we have 412 warships ready for battle. We have also hired 3 mercenary fleets and convinced the Shrikari Empire to lend us their ships." "How many ships total?" Vexthal asked. "Over 600, my lord, the largest fleet in galactic history." Vexthal smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Perfect. The humans will learn what happens when insects challenge the might of the Corvan Empire." But as the Corvan fleet prepared to attack, they did not know that the galaxy had changed. For the first time in decades, different species were working together against a common enemy. The humans had started something that would reshape the entire galaxy. Commander Morrison received his final orders from Admiral Sullivan. "Jake, you have done something amazing. You have given the galaxy hope. Now finish what you started." Jake looked at his fleet, now joined by Altarian ships and vessels from a dozen other species. The Zelari crystal ships floated alongside human warships. Former enemies were now allies, united by a common cause. "All ships," Jake announced over the communication system, "the Corvans are coming with their largest fleet ever. They think they can crush us with superior numbers. They are wrong. We are not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We are fighting for every peaceful species in the galaxy." The final battle was approaching, and the entire galaxy was watching. The final battle took place in the Nexus system, a group of stars between human and Corvan space. It was here that the future of the galaxy would be decided. General Thrakmar led the largest fleet ever assembled, over 600 warships from the Corvan Empire and their allies. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the Allied fleet from her flagship Retribution. She had 150 human ships, 40 vessels from the Altarian Republic, and dozens of smaller ships from species that had joined the rebellion against the Corvans. The two fleets faced each other across the darkness of space. Never before had so many ships gathered in one place for battle. The fate of countless worlds depended on what happened next. "This is General Thrakmar of the Corvan Empire," came the message across all communication channels. "Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Continue to resist, and we will destroy every human world and enslave your alien friends." Admiral Sullivan looked at her display screen showing the massive enemy fleet. The Corvans had brought everything they had. This was their final attempt to crush the human rebellion before it could spread further. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Terran Defense Force," she replied calmly. "We have given you our answer before. We will not abandon our friends. We will not bow to tyrants. If you want a war, you will have one. The battle began when the Corvan fleet opened fire with thousands of weapons at once. The space between the fleets lit up with energy beams and missiles. The Allied ships scattered in all directions, using their speed and intelligence to avoid the massive barrage. Captain Lisa Bennett commanded the heavy cruiser Valiant, one of the ships equipped with the latest Stellari biotechnology. When enemy fire hit her vessel, the living hull began to adapt and change. The armor grew thicker in the places that were hit most often. The weapons learned to target the weakest points on enemy ships. "This is incredible," she told her crew. "The ship is learning how to fight." Commander Morrison was aboard his flagship Guardian's Edge, coordinating the human attack. He had spent weeks planning this battle, and now it was time to put his strategies to work. "Launch all fighter squadrons," he ordered. "Begin the swarm attack." Hundreds of small human fighters poured out of the larger ships like angry insects. These fighters were different from the ones used in the first battle. They were faster, smarter, and equipped with weapons that could think for themselves. Major Sam Rodriguez led the first wave of fighters toward the Corvan flagship. His squadron moved like a school of fish, turning and diving as one unit. The Corvan weapons tried to hit them, but the human pilots were too quick and too clever. "Remember your training," Rodriguez told his pilots over the radio. "Hit their engines first, then their weapons. Work together and watch each other's backs." The human fighters swarmed over the massive Corvan ships. They were so small and fast that the big Corvan weapons could not track them. But the fighters carried weapons powerful enough to damage even the largest enemy vessels. General Thrakmer watched in growing anger as his ships were attacked by the tiny human fighters. "Why can our weapons not hit them?" he demanded. "Sir, they are using some kind of group intelligence," his weapons officer replied. "When we target one fighter, the others immediately change their flight patterns. It is like they are all connected. By one mind." That was exactly what was happening. The Zelari had taught humans how to link their ships together with biological computers. Each pilot could see what all the other pilots were seeing. They moved as one giant organism instead of individual ships. But the humans had more surprises. Admiral Sullivan gave the order to activate their secret weapon, the drone fleet. Hundreds of unmanned ships appeared from behind asteroids and space debris. These ships were controlled by artificial intelligence that had been enhanced with Stellari biotechnology. The drones attacked the Corvan fleet from all directions at once. They moved with perfect coordination, learning from each battle and becoming more effective with every minute that passed. When the Corvans destroyed one drone, the others immediately learned from its death and adapted their tactics. "This is impossible," Thrakmer said as he watched his proud fleet being torn apart. "How can they have so many ships? Where did they all come from?" The answer was simple. While the Corvans had been gathering their fleet for one massive attack, the humans had been building and planning for months. They had used Zelari technology to create ships that could repair themselves and weapons that could think. The battle raged for 2 entire days. The space around the Nexus system became a graveyard of destroyed ships from both sides. But slowly, the tide turned in favor of the Allies. Captain Bennett's ship Valiant had learned so much during the battle that it was now almost impossible to damage. Its hull had adapted to every type of weapon the Corvans used. Its weapons could predict where enemy ships would move and hit them before they got there. Major Rodriguez had led successful boarding attacks on 3 Corvan vessels. His Marines fought with the fury of soldiers defending their homes. The close combat was brutal, but the humans had better training and equipment. "Rodriguez to all Marine units," he called over the radio. "The Corvans are breaking. Keep the pressure on them." On the 3rd day of battle, something happened that no one expected. General Thrakmer's flagship was surrounded by human fighters and drones. His engines were destroyed, his weapons were offline, and his ship was drifting helplessly. "General," his communications officer reported, "we are being boarded. Human Marines are cutting through our hull. Within an hour, Major Rodriguez and his Marines had captured the Corvan flagship. General Thrakmer, the proud leader who had conquered dozens of worlds, was now a prisoner of the humans he had thought were weak. With their leader captured and most of their fleet destroyed, the remaining Corvan ships began to surrender. Some tried to escape, but the Allied fleet was positioned to catch them. The mighty Corvan Empire, which had ruled through fear for centuries, was finally defeated. Supreme Overlord Vexthal, watching the battle from his homeworld, could not believe what he was seeing. His greatest general was captured, his strongest fleet was destroyed. The humans had done the impossible. "Send a message to all Corvan forces," he ordered. "Withdraw from all conquered worlds. The Empire is finished." After the battle, Admiral Sullivan stood on the observation deck of her flagship, looking at the wreckage floating in space. Beside her, Commander Morrison and Ambassador Velther watched as the last Corvan ships limped away toward their home territory. "We did it," Jake said quietly. "We actually did it." "Yes," Velther replied, his skin glowing bright gold with happiness. "But more importantly, we did it together. Humans, Zalari, Altarians, and dozens of other species working as one." The victory celebrations lasted for days on every Allied world. But the real celebration was quieter and more meaningful. On worlds that had been conquered by the Corvans, people were free for the first time in generations. President Ryan Carter addressed the galaxy from his office on Earth. "Today marks the beginning of a new age. An age where peaceful species can live without fear, where bullies and tyrants will find no place to hide. The Terran Defense Force will continue to protect all who need protection." The Corvan Empire still existed, but it was no longer the terror of the galaxy. Other species had learned that they could fight back and win. The humans had shown them that with courage, intelligence, and friendship, even the mightiest empire could fall. Commander Morrison returned to his ship, tired but satisfied. He had kept his promise to protect the Zalari. More than that, he had helped free countless worlds from tyranny. As he looked out at the stars, Jake knew that this was just the beginning. There would be other bullies, other empires that tried to conquer the weak. But now the galaxy knew that humanity would stand against them. The warning had been given, and the galaxy had listened. Harm humanity's friends and face their wrath. It was a lesson that would be remembered for generations to come.